जय राधा माधव गोपी जन वल्लभ Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So on behalf of ISKCON Atlanta, we welcome you all for the Sunday feast today. And I offer my obeisances to all the Prabhupada disciples if they're here and if they're watching. And I offer my obeisances to all the senior Vaishnavas who are all present here. Hare Krishna. So today, I have the privilege to speak about a very great devotee. And many of you may have already heard about this devotee, But it is always good to purify our intelligence to again repeatedly hear about great saints and their pastimes with the Supreme Lord. So today we are going to speak about the illustrious Shyamananda Pandit. So before we start, we will offer our invocation prayers. Om Agyantimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadadi Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So today we will be speaking about the illustrious Srila Shyamananda Pandit. Srila Shyamananda Pandit, along with Narottam Das Thakur and Srinivas Acharya, they carried on the Sankirtan movement after the departure of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And as I was preparing for this class, I realized that the Acharyas in our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya have often mentioned that Srila Shyamananda Pandit was one of the greatest stalwarts that has ever graced our Sampradaya. In Prem Vilas, it is mentioned by Nityananda Das that Srila Shyamananda Pandit is Kanaka Manjari in the spiritual world. Her spiritual identity is she is a Manjari and her name is Kanaka Manjari. And she appeared in a village in West Bengal in 1535. In Bhakti Ratnakar, it is stated that his mother was called Sri Durika and father was named Krishna Mandal. And it is mentioned that his parents were exceedingly pious and they were of impeccable character. But due to some misfortune, all their children died at birth or just after birth. And Shyamananda Pandit was the only survivor. So after he was born and he survived, they named him Dukhi. Why did they call him Dukhi? Because they thought, what does Dukhi mean? For those who don't know, Dukhi means somebody who is very sad and unfortunate. So they named him Dukhi because they thought if they name him Dukhi, Yamraj would not care about him and Yamraj would just leave him alone and he would not take him. So our dear Dukhi, as he grew up to be a very intelligent child. And Dukhi went to school and the teachers there in his school were astonished by his ability to learn difficult subject matters like Sanskrit grammar, poetry, and he was very, very intelligent. But one thing everyone noticed was as Dukhi was growing up, he was very, very interested in listening to the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda Prabhu. And he very quickly grew up and realized the importance of Diksha, that is taking shelter of his spiritual master. and he heard about this extraordinary devotee called as Hriday Chaitanya. And he went and he told his parents that I wish to take Diksha and shelter from Hriday Chaitanya. So he was still very young, and his parents were very astonished to find that such a young boy, he's understanding the importance of taking shelter of a spiritual master and wanting to be under somebody. So they said, okay, we will try and facilitate this. But the journey to Ambika Kalna, where Hriday Chaitanya lived, was a very dangerous and treacherous one through forests. So they finally agreed and they said, okay, we will take you to your spiritual master. And they left for Ambika Kalna and they finally reached Hriday Chaitanya's ashram. And it is described that as he walked in Hriday Chaitanya's ashram, Hriday Chaitanya was in meditation. He was meditating on the sweet pastimes of Krishna Balaram. It is mentioned that Hriday Chaitanya is in Sakhyaras. He's in the mood of a cowherd boy, and he was sitting and he was meditating. And as soon as he saw Dukhi enter into his ashram, his meditation broke and he stared at wonder at the boy. And it's written that just as a virtuous man is able to recognize another virtuous man, and just like a jeweler is able to realize the value of diamonds amongst broken pieces of glass, immediately Hriday Chaitanya realized the worth and value of Dukhi just upon looking at him. He knew that he was a great devotee of Lord Krishna. And then he went and approached him and he took shelter from Hriday Chaitanya. Hriday Chaitanya gladly accepted him. And then he began to stay in the ashram of Hriday Chaitanya and he started offering service to his spiritual master. And months followed and Dukhi won his Gurudev's heart by his deep service to his Guru Maharaj. And in the year 1553, Dukhi made a request to his spiritual master. He said that I have this desire to travel to different holy places. Can you please allow me to do this? So Hriday Chaitanya allowed Dukhi to go on pilgrimages. And Dukhi went for 8 years. He went to the different places all over India on pilgrimages. And he then returned. And the spiritual master is always eager to accept his disciple back after he comes back from pilgrimages. And Hriday Chaitanya welcomed him back. And he came back and he was amazed to see how much advancement Hriday Chaitanya Dukhi had made after his pilgrimage. And in appreciation of his progress, Hriday Chaitanya decided to entrust him a service because he was now advanced in spiritual life. And he told him that Dukhi, every day you should water all the flowers in the garden of Gaur Nitai. So in those olden days, what used to happen is the kings used to donate acres of land for the temple. And some part of the land used to be just to develop gardens and where flowers and fruits for the deities could be made. And they used to be raised and they used to be watered and they were used exclusively for the deities. So he entrusted this task of watering the garden of flowers and fruits for Gaur Nitai, because Hriday Chaitanya's main deities were Gaur Nitai. So as time passed, Dukhi performed his duties very well. It was a very menial service. Every day morning he used to have a pitcher on his head. He used to go to Ganga, he used to fill it with water and he used to come back and water the flowers every day in the garden. And he would do this all day long. All day long. He would even forget the count of how many times he has been to Ganga and back to water these beautiful flowers for the service of Gaur Nitai. And in his ecstasy, sometimes he would just roll on the floor and he would cry and tears would well from his eyes and he would be crying out the sweet names of Gaur Nitai. Being so absorbed in his service, he did not notice something. Because of carrying the pitcher on his head day in and day out, his head had started developing wounds. And those wounds became so deep that they started getting infected. and they all got infected with worms. And his head was full of wounds and worms, and he did not even notice it. And he was still carrying on his duty, absorbed in his service. One day, his spiritual master, Hriday Chaitanya, came there and he observed him very closely. And when he was putting his pitcher down, he noticed that some worms fell down from his head. And then he realized how deep in service Dukhi had been immersed that he did not even notice the wounds and the worms that were on his head. So, appreciating his disciples' determination and sincerity, the heart of Hriday Chaitanya melted, and he embraced Dukhi Krishna. He said, "Come here, my dear Dukhi," and he placed his hand on Dukhi's head. And when he placed his hand on Dukhi's head, by his mystic powers, the wound and the worms disappeared. So just see the quality of the devotees we are discussing. Hriday Chaitanya was so advanced in his spiritual life that he had all the mystic powers, the Ashta Siddhi. We say that in Hanuman Chalisa, Ashta Siddhi Nav Nidhi Ke Data. So these are just the byproducts of pure devotional service. But pure devotees will never utilize them to attract public or crowd and to display these. He used it only for pure Harikatha. And he used this for a purpose because Dukhi Krishna Das was serving his spiritual master and the garden of Gaurnidhar. So, in some time went on and he continued his service to the garden. And then, few days later, Hriday Chaitanya called Dukhi and he told him that your name will now be Dukhi Krishna Das from now. And I have initiated you. Now you have ripened in your devotional service. Now I want you to go to Vrindavan. You have now become qualified to go to Vrindavan and worship Radha and Krishna. And then he said, when you go to Vrindavan, I want you to go and stay under the guidance of Srila Jiva Goswami. And he will help you further in your devotional service to go deeper and deeper and deeper. So when we think about this, becoming qualified to go to Vrindavan and becoming qualified to worship Radha and Krishna, we should at this stage know that Dukhi Krishna had reached a very elevated stage in his Krishna consciousness. It's only when the spiritual master feels that one is worthy will he allow him to go and enter Vrindavan and worship Radha and Krishna. There is a letter which Srila Prabhupada wrote, January 30th, 1973. Srila Prabhupada has written that it is impossible for a conditioned soul to worship Radha and Krishna. But the worship of Radha and Krishna can be performed through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So if we worship Radha and Krishna along with only then we are able to render service to. So Srila Prabhupada actually opened the gates of Vrindavan to us. And he has allowed us to enter Vrindavan and worship Radha and Krishna along with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we should feel very grateful and very fortunate that we are under the guidance of Srila Prabhupada. And under his guidance only we should perform the worship of Radha and Krishna along with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now it wasn't until a certain stage, even in Srila Prabhupada's devotional service, that his Guru Maharaj entrusted him the worship of Radha and Krishna and then asked him to go to Vrindavan also. So this stage even came in Srila Prabhupada's spiritual life. And the same holds true if we are also able to visit Vrindavan. We should be considering this to be a very, 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 very rare privilege to enter Vrindavan and to give service to the Dham. These are very rare things. But we have the unlimited causeless mercy of Srila Prabhupada backing us always whenever we are in the Dham. So upon reaching Vrindavan, Dukhi Krishna Das, he sought Srila Jiva Goswami's lotus feet and he started worshipping and training under his guidance. So it's only when one inquires from the spiritual master, then the spiritual master will impart knowledge, and then when that knowledge is put into action, that is when you perform services, then you will have realizations. So this is what Dukhi Krishna Das did. He went and he served Jiva Goswami, he inquired, and then out of his service came many realizations while he was in Sri Vrindavan Dham. So first we get Gyan, but then it becomes Vigyan. And when we use this knowledge for the service of the spiritual master, then our devotion is ripened. So these are the small secrets in devotional service. So Guru Nishtha is very important. So we have to put this into practice. Now under Jiva Goswami, Dukhi Krishna Das learned deep spiritual matters and he made very quick progress. Dukhi Krishna Das used to go in a cave, under a cave, and he used to chant all day on his beads. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And after some time, again, after realizing his progress, Srila Jiva Goswami decided to give him another menial service. So first he had the menial service of watering the garden of Gaurnita in Ambika Kalna. And now he has another menial service. Now Jiva Goswami, Srila Jiva Goswami gave him a menial service. It sounds menial, but it was not an ordinary service. It was the service of sweeping the most sacred forest of Seva Kunj. So for those who don't know, Seva Kunj is a place in Sri Vrindavan Dham where the deepest pastimes of Srimati Radharani and Krishna and the Vraja Gopis take place. It's a very confidential place where no one is allowed to enter after evening and at night. It is guarded by tall walls and forests, and after evening no one is allowed to go there. So this is a very deep esoteric place, and this place was entrusted to Dukhi Krishna Das by Srila Jiva Goswami to sweep every day in the morning. So this is the practice of serving the dham in a menial way. It is important to visit the dham. Yes, it is important to do parikrama. It is important to visit all the temples. It is very important to meet all the great saints that are in the dham. But it is also very, very important to serve the dham. How do we serve the dham? How can we serve the dham? We can serve the dham by cleaning the dham. We can offer sweeping services. We can clean the sidewalks. We can help in cleaning the ponds, the lakes. We can help in planting the trees. We can help in supporting the trees and tying them so that they are not falling. We can help in go seva, taking care of the cows in the dham. If we offer this menial service to the dham, it is of great benefit in our spiritual life, and it goes leaps and bounds of progress in our spiritual life. So these services are the services which you all can do when you all go to Dham. Because what is Dham? Is actually an expansion of Lord Balaram. So it is said that all the opulences of Vaikuntha cannot compare to a single grain of dust of Sri Vrindavan Dham. It is that elevated. Sri Vrindavan Dham ki Jai. So we must enter the Dham in the mood of performing service to the Dham and performing service to the people of the Dham Vasis, and it must be in proper consciousness. So Dukhi Krishna Das started sweeping Seva Kunj every morning, and as he was thinking, as he was sweeping, he was constantly thinking that this is the dust that has touched the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani, the Vraja Gopis and Sri Krishna. And as he was thinking and sweeping every day, tears would roll from his eyes and they would all mix in the dust of Seva Kunj. And then he would be so absorbed that he would roll, and then he would get up and sweep. He used to constantly be in a state of separation, and he would be finding himself so fortunate to do this service that he was always very grateful that he got this service. So Dukhi Krishna Das's service was to clean the Seva Kunj, the dust of Vrindavan. By performing this seva, just by performing seva to the dust of Vrindavan, endeared him so much to the queen of Vrindavan, Srimati Radharani, that she decided to bestow her causeless mercy upon him. What did she do? Now, the amazing pastime which we are just going to describe has ever been glorified in the pages of Gaudiya Vaishnava history. It's such a beautiful pastime. Are you all ready? At one point, one night what happened was Lord Krishna and the gopis were absorbed, they were there in Seva Kunj that night and they were absorbed in performing their dance. Lord Krishna, the Vraja gopis, Srimati Radharani, and they were there under the beautiful moonlit night and they were in Seva Kunj. And at a point, as they were dancing, the pace of the dancing increased to such an intensity that Srimati Radharani was wearing a very beautiful golden anklet which was studded with sapphires. And the intensity of dancing went so high, like sometimes when we sing, when Kartik Kripa Prabhu is doing Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, that intensity we all know. When we are dancing in that intensity, the same intensity was going on. And Srimati Radharani lost one of her anklets. And this beautiful anklet, which was golden, studded with sapphires, slipped off from her left lotus foot, and she did not notice that it fell. And in the morning, Krishna, Vrajagopis and Srimati Radharani, they all went back home. And as soon as everyone left Seva Kunj, our dear Dukhi Krishna Das came for his morning service to Seva Kunj. And there he began his sweeping. And as soon as he entered, he found that the aura was very different that day. He found that there were more jasmine flowers scattered around, more garlands scattered around. And he saw that the cuckoos, the birds, the bees, they were humming more than usual. And there was a beautiful fragrance that was not smelled by him ever before. And then he found himself again very fortunate. And he started his service again out of gratitude. And then he started rolling in the dust again as usual. His usual seva was he used to roll in the dust out of gratefulness, out of happiness, out of ecstasy. He used to cry. And he started sweeping, again considering himself so fortunate. So the dust of Vrindavan is considered to be one of the impetuses in one's spiritual life. It's considered to be a stimulus, an uddipan. There are many things which can be a stimulus in your spiritual life. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, in his composition book Sharanagati, he writes a very beautiful poetry. It's called Radha Kunda Tata Kunja Kutir. It's a bhajan which we sing. And that whole song just describes the different stimuli that give impetus to your spiritual life. So some of them are Radha Kund will give impetus to your spiritual life. Sham Kund, Manasi Ganga, the cuckoo birds, the Yamuna, Giriraj Govardhan, the peacocks, all these, the dust of Vrindavan, the cows, the cowherd boys, the different deers, the different animals of Vrindavan, all these are the stimuli that give impetus to your spiritual life. Among them is the principle, the dust of Vrindavan, Vraj. It is so important. Usually we consider dust to be so fallen, it is at everyone's feet. But in the spiritual world, the dust is considered one of the highest for our Krishna consciousness. So the dust of Vrindavan is so important and so holy and so pious that we should take shelter of the dust of Vrindavan. In Vrindavan Mahimamrit, Srila Prabodhanand Saraswati describes how the dust of Vrindavan is composed of different forms, different elements. He says that the dust of Vrindavan is composed of ground camphor. It is also composed of saffron. It is composed of ground musk and also of different aromatic substances. All these are the different compositions of the dust of Vrindavan Dham. Wow, so many varieties of dust. And all this is to reveal to us through the Acharyas. It is only because of the Acharyas that the dust of Vrindavan has been revealed to us. Now, Dukhi Krishna Das, After rolling in the dust and crying in ecstasy, he started cleaning the kunja. And as he was cleaning the kunj, he saw something glittering under a pomegranate tree. And he went towards it. And as he went there, he saw that this little thing was lighting up the whole grove with golden bright brilliance. And he decided to look after it. So he took a spade. He had a spade during the cleanup process. So he took the spade and he started digging it. And as he started digging it, the spade turned to gold, 24-carat golden spade. And then in that spade, he saw this beautiful anklet called Manju Ghosh. It was golden, studded with sapphires, and it was no ordinary anklet. And he held it in his hand. From his spade, he held it in his hand, and he suddenly felt a current of divine ecstasy flow through his body and mind. And then suddenly he heard an Akashvani, that is a voice from the sky. And he said, "Keep this anklet very carefully, Dukhi Krishnadas." And then understanding that the anklet was not ordinary and it belonged to an extraordinary person, he took it and he tied it up in his cloth and he kept it very safely. Now in the morning, while he was sweeping, Radharani had gone back home. Srimati Radharani was in Yavat, and there she realized that her favorite anklet was missing. So she called upon Lalita Sakhi and she said, "Oh, I've lost my anklet. Can you please go fetch it? I think I left it back in Seva Kunj." Now generally, the task of fetching Srimati Radharani's jewelry is entrusted to Manjaris, but she decided to entrust Lalita Sakhi with this task. And then why she decided to entrust Lalita Sakhi in this task, we will do a discussion a little later. So disguised as an ordinary village girl, Lalita Sakhi, she came to Seva Kunj, and then she approached Dukhi Krishnadas and she told him that, "Hare Krishna, my name is Radha Dasi." And she said, "I am from a Kubja Brahmani caste and I am a resident of the village Yavat." And he said, "Okay." And she said that previous evening my sister was here and she became a little afraid by the roar of a tiger and she ran away. And while she was running away, she left behind her anklet. And it is somewhere here in the forest. Have you seen it? So Dukhi Krishnadas said, "Yes, I have found it." And because of his spiritual intuition, because he was such an advanced devotee, he realized that this ordinary village girl who had come in the garb, was Lalita Sakhi in the garb of an ordinary village girl, is not an ordinary person. He realized it. And he said that he realized that she was hiding her true identity. And therefore he said, "I'm not going to give you the anklet." So she said, "Why not? Why would you not give it to me?" So he says, "Because you are such a simple village girl. How can you and your sister afford this expensive anklet?" So Lalita Sakhi is very fiery. She's very defensive and protective of Srimati Radharani. She didn't like the fact that Srimati Radharani was called poor. So she said, "We may be villagers, but we are not poor." So he said, "Now please give me the anklet." So Dukhi Krishnadas persisted. He said, "Dear girl, I want to see your sister myself, and I want to see if she's as wealthy as you are. So you take me to her, and if I find that it is actually belonging to her, I will hand over the anklet." By now Lalita Sakhi was getting impatient with Dukhi Krishnadas. She could actually recognize Dukhi Krishnadas' spiritual depth. She did not want to offend him. She also knew that he was also a very sincere, great devotee. So she refrained herself. She noticed that something was not ordinary about him. He was extraordinary devotee. She said, "Okay, if that's what the deal is, I will take you to my sister. You will personally see her and you will be able to give her the anklet." And she took Dukhi Krishnadas to Lalita Kund in Vrindavan, which is near Radha Kund. And she told Lalita to Dukhi Krishnadas, "Now you please go and take a dip in this pond." So Lalita Sakhi told him that, and Dukhi Krishnadas looked a bit bewildered. He said, "Why do I have to take a dip to see your sister?" So she became even more frustrated. And she said, because things were going a bit slow, Srimati Radharani was waiting. She had to get back to the spiritual world. So to facilitate and expedite the pastime, she decided to give her unlimited mercy to Dukhi Krishna Das. She immediately revealed her original form as Lalita Sakhi to Dukhi Krishna Das. And upon beholding this beautiful damsel of Vrindavan, Radharani's foremost friend, Lalita Sakhi, what happened to Dukhi Krishna Das? He fainted. He couldn't tolerate the transcendental darshan of Srimati Lalita Sakhi. So Lalita Sakhi revived him with a touch of her lotus hand upon his head, and further gave him mercy, and she decided to qualify him to meet Srimati Radharani. It's not very easy to meet Srimati Radharani. You have to get blessings and qualifications from Lalita Sakhi. So she gave him the famous Srimati Radharani mantra, which is said it consists of 15 syllables and 6 divine opulences. And she initiated him into that mantra. And she requested him, after initiating him, she requested him again to bathe in that kund, in Lalita Kund. And so he did. He took a second bath. And as soon as he emerged from Lalita Kund, he had taken the form of a most beautiful Vraja Gopi, 12-year-old, fully ornamented with beautiful jewels and silken clothes. And by the mercy of Yogamaya, unfathomable mercy of Yogamaya, Dukhi Krishna Das, as a gopi, with Lalita Sakhi, entered into the unmanifested eternal form of Vrindavan, the Aprakat Leela, which is not seen by our eyes, material eyes. She entered into that Leela, which was going on. And now, even now, in Bhaumya Vrindavan, the Aprakat Leela, the unmanifested form of the pastimes of the divine couple are still going on, but we cannot see it with our material eyes. We have to become qualified. So Lalita Sakhi now escorted this new gopi to a beautiful grove, a kunj in Vrindavan, where Srimati Vrindavaneshwari, the queen of Vrindavan, was seated on a throne, accompanied by all her manjaris, gopis and sakhis. There she saw that Vishaka Sakhi was standing next to Srimati Radharani, and she was fanning her. And as soon as she saw Dukhi Krishna Das, she said, "Oh, welcome back, Kanaka Manjari is here." So she recognized Dukhi Krishna Das and she welcomed her, because the original spiritual identity of Shyamananda Pandit is Kanaka Manjari. And in ecstasy of seeing his worshipable deity, Dukhi Krishna Das, he fainted. He fainted again when he saw Srimati Radharani. So Lalita Sakhi again revived him, and she told him, "Now look, this is my sister. You wanted to see her now? Now you see her. Now you see whether she is qualified and whether she is the actual recipient of this anklet." So what do you think? So Dukhi Krishna Das, it is written that in that gopi body, he gazed at Srimati Radharani and the gopis and everything around in the kunj. And his senses and mind became so overwhelmed by the inconceivable grandeur and the atmosphere surrounding him in Vrindavan that he again lost his consciousness. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki Jai! Srimati Radharani ki Jai! So again he was revived. And then once he was revived, Srimati Radharani with her right hand held Dukhi Krishna Das, and with her left hand she accepted the anklet very gracefully. And she said, "Dukhi Krishna Das, I am very pleased with your service. I am very pleased by your menial service to Seva Kunj. I want to bless you through this anklet which you have brought back to me." And what did she do? She took the anklet and she pressed it against Dukhi Krishna Das's forehead, which left a mark of Srimati Radharani's lotus foot on her forehead, just like our tilak. And then Srimati Radharani, what did she do? She mixed sandalwood paste, she mixed camphor, honey, saffron, and she rubbed the mixture on a moonstone, and she took the anklet, she dipped it in it, and then she made another dot in the center of the tilak. She made a dot, a resplendent, beautiful dot, and she said that this is also a part of your tilak. And then Lalita Sakhi spoke up, and Lalita Sakhi said that this tilak will be called as the Shyam Mohan Tilak. Srimati Radharani said, "My dear Kanaka Manjari, Dukhi Krishna now, from today your name will be Shamanand in the material world when you go back." So Srimati Radharani named him Shamanand. What does Shamanand mean? Shamanand means one who gives eternal joy to Srimati Radharani, our dear Shama. So he was Sham Anand. And then it is said that this new name, Shamanand, which was bestowed to him by Srimati Radharani, got inscripted on his chest. On his chest, suddenly his name appeared. And then Srimati Radharani requested him, "Now Shamanand, now you can please return back to the mortal world." Now, hearing this prospect of impending separation from Srimati Radharani, he was very sad and he started crying uncontrollably. Like how kids cry when they are going away from their mom and dad, he started crying just like that. And he was shedding tears and he's saying, "Please have mercy on me, Radharani. Please keep me here at your lotus feet. Give me service to you." So, seeing this appeal, piteous appeal of Shamanand, Srimati Radharani's heart melted. Radharani is very merciful, very compassionate. She doesn't want to see her devotee so sad. So what did she do? Out of her unconceivable mercy, from her heart, Srimati Radharani manifested a deity of Shyam Sundar. And this deity was so beautiful. It was three-folded form, bended form. It was Tribhanganandan Shyam Sundar. And she manifested that and she gave it to Lalita Sakhi. And she asked her to give it to Shamanand. And she said, "Shamanand, as long as you live in this mortal world, keep this deity with yourself and be engaged in serving this deity all day and night. And you will not suffer in separation from me if you follow these instructions. And after this life, you will come back to this eternal world and you will be with me again." And then Srimati Radharani gave 12 blessings to whoever renders service to this deity. She gave 12 blessings. They're long enumerated there, but I will just mention a few. It is said that whoever has darshan of this deity, even once with devotion, shall attain prem bhakti and shall go to the divine abode of Krishna, never to be born again. So we all want to be fortunate enough to see this deity today. Hari Bol. So we'll connect it. And then I'll go on, a few others. It is said whoever regularly takes darshan of this deity will go to the abode of Sri Krishna along with his past 10 and future 10 generations. And then anyone who offers cow dung, cleans it, puts a flag on the temple, offers ornaments, gold, first class food stuff, anyone who offers and sees the arati being performed, anyone who constructs or renovates this temple, anyone who circumambulates this temple 4 times, it's as good as circumambulating the whole universe and all the holy rivers in the universe, and different benefits like Ashwamedha Yajna. But yeah, there are 12 beautiful benedictions that Srimati Radharani has given, that if you do this, but the foremost and best for us who are inclined to pure devotional service is to take darshan of the deity even once with devotion, will attain prema bhakti.
I'll give it back to you.
If you want, we can do it. End of the class also.
Go ahead.
Jai Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Shri Radhe.
Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Shri Radhe.
Jai Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Shri Radhe.
Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Shri Radhe. So this is the beautiful deity deity of Shyamasundar and Srimati Radharani. Did everyone take a beautiful glance at it? And you all can all look at it with pure devotion in your heart. Ask for service to the beautiful deities in the spiritual world. Shri Radha Shyama Sundar ki Jai. Shri Shyamananda Pandit ki Jai. So after hearing this today, the first thing you all can do is put this deity darshan on your bucket list, and when you all go to Vrindavan, you'll head straight to Radha Shyam Sundar temple, take the blessings, because the blessings and benedictions of Srimati Radharani never go in vain. So now the newly named Shyamanand Pandit, he bowed down before Srimati Radharani in the spiritual world, and when he got up, everything around him had changed. He had come back to the mortal world. And there again he found himself dressed in the brahmachari clothes. He was back again in the garden of Seva Kunj. And there he was feeling intense separation from the spiritual world and his beloved Srimati Radharani. And then he looked at himself in a puddle nearby, and he found that his complexion had changed. He used to be fair, but now he had a golden aura around him. He saw the Shyamanandi Tilak, and he saw the name inscripted on his chest as Shyamanand, and he saw that his spade had turned golden. So as soon as he saw this, he didn't know what to do, so he decided to go and run to Srila Jiva Goswami and tell him all that had happened. So at the same time, he was holding the divine deity of Shyamasundar, which had manifested from the heart of Srimati Radharani. So he placed the deity on his head, and shedding tears in separation, he started running towards Srila Jiva Goswami. Now before we find out what happened after he met Srila Jiva Goswami, we will now try and answer the question as to why Srimati Radharani sent Lalita Sakhi to Dukhi Krishnadas instead of sending any other Sakhi or the Manjaris. It has a very deep meaning for us. We should realize that without the grace of Srila Lalita Sakhi, we cannot get the grace of Srimati Radharani. That is what the Acharyas have declared, and that is what they have concluded. That is why we go through the whole process of the servant 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 of the Lord. And this is also made very clear by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Lalitastakam, especially verse 7 and 9. I would like you all to repeat those verses after me.
You can see.
So everyone can recite this after me. Yam kamapi vrajakule shabhanujaya.
Yam kamapi vrajakule shabhanujaya.
Prekshasva paksha padavim anurudhyamanam.
Prekshasva paksha padavim anurudhyamanam.
Sadyastadishta ghatanena kritharthayantam.
Sadyastadishtaghtanena kritharthayantim.
Devim gunaisu lalitam lalitam namami.
Devim gunaisu lalitam lalitam namami.
What does it mean? I offer pranam unto the supremely charming Sri Lalita Devi, the treasure house of all good qualities. Upon seeing any young maiden anywhere in Braj and discerning that she is inclined towards her Priya Sakhi Srimati Radhika, Lalita immediately fulfills all of that maiden's internal desires and satisfies her completely. So if you are inclined to worship Srimati Radharani, all of you all, if you all pray to Lalita Sakhi, there's a whole Ashtakam. I'm just reading 2 verses out of them. But if you all read those 8 verses Every day you all will get the mercy of Lalita Sakhi. The next one, this is the 9th one, this is the Falashruti. Nandan Namoni Lalita Gunalalitani.
Nandan Namoni Lalita Gunalalitani.
Padyaniya Pathati Nirmala Drishtirashtau.
Padyani Padati Nirmala Drishtirashtau.
Vidya Vikarshati Janam Nija Vrinda Madhye.
Vidya Vikarshati Janam Nija Vrinda Madhye.
Tam Kirtida Patikulojjwala Kalpavalli.
Tam Kirtida Patikulojjwala Kalpavalli.
If a person with a cheerful and pure heart recites this Ashtaka in praise of Lalita Devi, who is superbly ornamented with the qualities of beauty, grace and charm, Srimati Radhika, the effulgent, wish-fulfilling creeper in the family of Rishabhanu Maharaj, affectly draws that person towards her and adopts her among her group of Sakhis. This is the benediction that you will receive after chanting this sincerely and daily, a prayer to Lalita Sakhi. This Ashtakam is written by Srila Rupa Goswami. So friend Srila, now Krishna Das, he was astonished to see him. He said, where have you been all this while and what has happened to you? Where have you got this golden effulgence from? Where have you got this tilak from? What is on this chest? Who has written this on this chest? And what deity are you carrying? Jiva Goswami was asking him all these questions. And Jiva Goswami is also a very advanced devotee, obviously more advanced than Dukhi Krishna Das, because he was giving him training, shiksha. And so he told Dukhi Krishna Das, today it seems that you have been blessed by Shri Krishna or Srimati Radharani herself. Now tell me the truth. So Shyamananda Pandit then took Jiva Goswami to a secluded place and he told him everything that had happened in Vrindavan Dham. And after hearing this extraordinary mercy which Srimati Radharani had bestowed upon Shyamananda Pandit, Jiva Goswami actually was always known to be very grave and sober, but he couldn't check himself. He started crying and jumping like a madman and rolling on the dust and crying and saying, Jai, Jai, Jai. He was so happy to hear this sweet pastime. And then he embraced Shyamananda Pandit and spoke in a faltering voice and he said, now my dear Shyamananda Pandit, you are most blessed in all the three worlds. And upon this present day, he said, Srimati Radharani has not bestowed such mercy on anyone so far. And by touching your body today, I have also been blessed, because he wanted to touch his purified transcendental body. And then he said that this transcendental deity which has manifested from the heart of Srimati Radharani will be all beneficial for the entire material world, and a temple will be established for this deity. So in the place where the anklet was found, a temple was built for Shri Radha Shyama Sundar. And then all his remaining life, Srila Shyamananda Pandit became deeply absorbed in serving the deity. And one day, and also this news that he had got a new name, new tilak, spread far and wide in Vrindavan, and everyone came to know about this pastime. And one day, some pilgrims had come from West Bengal, and when they heard of this, they went back to Navadvip Dham and they misinformed Hriday Chaitanya. They told his spiritual master that Dukhi Krishna has now rejected you and he has adopted a new name. And not only that, he is wearing a new tilak, he has a new look and he has a new name inscripted on his chest. So on hearing this, Hriday Chaitanya's heart broke and he became very angry. He decided to go to Vrindavan. So he collected 64 Mahants, 12 senior cowherd men and various Vaishnavas from Navadvip, and he started his journey to Vrindavan. He went to Vrindavan after a long journey, and there he immediately called for Dukhi Krishnadas. And when Dukhi Krishnadas arrived there, Hriday Chaitanya asked him, "Tell me all about this." He said, "Tell me why you have given up your spiritual master and what made you do this." So then Hriday Chaitanya said, "All this is because of your mercy, dear Guru Maharaj. I have done nothing. Because of your blessings, I have received this blessing from Srimati Radharani." In a very humble mood, he was saying this, but he was not willing to hear. So then Dukhi Krishnadas, he told his spiritual master and all the Vaishnavas present there, "Can you give me 48 minutes? Just 48 minutes." So they all said, "Yes, sure, why not?" And then Shyamanand Pandit began to chant the Srimati Radharani mantra, which Lalita Sakhi had initiated him into, and which qualifies him to meet Srimati Radharani. And as soon as he chanted the mantra, he again entered the unmanifested eternal abode of Sri Vrindavan Dham. And there, in the Aparakat Leela, he got darshan of Lalita Sakhi and Srimati Radharani. And there he told Srimati Radharani that this is all that is happening because of this tilak and Shyamanand written on my chest, and my spiritual master is very upset with me. So Srimati Radharani smiled and she assured Shyamanand Pandit that she would arrange for his protection and not to worry at all. So moments later, he found himself back with his Guru Maharaj and all the Mahants, 64 Mahants and the 12 Vaishnavas and great people around him. Everybody was there. And Hriday Chaitanya said that whatever you have said is not true. You're just lying about it. Let me see. I will only believe you if this tilak gets erased and never reappears again. And if this name on your chest gets erased and never appears again. So he took a cloth, he took some water, Hriday Chaitanya, and he erased his tilak on his forehead. And he erased his name. And within minutes, the tilak came back again, and his name came back again on his chest. And it came even more brighter with more brilliance. And it was magical. And Hriday Chaitanya then finally believed that he truly had attained the mercy of Srimati Radharani. And he embraced Shyamananda Pandit happily and accepted him again back. So this is the beautiful life story so far of Shyamanand Pandit. There's more to talk, but we have restraints of time. We can have part 2 on the different pastimes of how Shyamanand Pandit found Srimati Radharani for Shyam Sundar DT, and so on and so forth. The pastimes are unlimited. Srila Shyamanand Pandit is a very exalted devotee, and yesterday was his appearance day. That's why I decided to speak about this topic. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
We have also celebrated His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj's 76th Vyas Puja last week, and all his disciples are sponsoring the Sunday feast today, and we would like all of you all to pray for the health of His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. In spite of his health, he continues to travel, initiate and preach. Srila Prabhupada said that Jayapataka Maharaj is an eternal associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the legacy continues. He developed Mayapur. He keeps coming to Panihati Dham every year. We pray that this year also he is able to come and give his association to all of us to purify this temple and new Panihati Dham. Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.